Greetings, I am Tharg. I bring you a galactic new comic, 2000 AD, with adventures from the future, including the new invincible Dan Dare. Also a genuine Thargian space spinner, free. Get 2000 AD now.
Dan Dare appeared in the first issue of the new weekly British science fiction comic 2000 AD, launched on the 26th of February 1977 and published by IPC magazines. The story kicked off with an amazing full-colour centre page spread illustrated by Massimo Bellardinelli and scripted by Ken Armstrong and Pat Mills. The first issue of 2000 AD featured the new Dan Dare on the front cover and came with a space spinner, now prized by retro comic collectors. But before looking at Dan Dare's appearances in 2000 AD, we first need to look at his origins and the legacy. His debut appearance was the first issue of the Eagle comic on the 14th of April 1950 in Dan Dare, Pilot of the Future, and continued to be included in the comic until it ceased production on the 26th of April 1969, just short of its 1000th edition. The Eagle comic was revolutionary in its presentation and content. The artwork was drawn in bright, innovative colours, and the printing process was totally new and unique. As well as being able to read about the adventures of Dan Dare in the Eagle comic, Radio Luxembourg produced a dramatised story 7 days a week between 1951 and 1956. Sadly, very few of these recordings have survived.
And now we step forward in time to meet Dan Dare and the pilots of outer space.
After appearing in 2000 AD from 1977 to 1979, Dan Dare was to return in the relaunch of the Eagle comic on the 27th of March 1982 with an epic story that was to run for 18 months, written by Pat Mills and John Wagner. The Eagle was to continue the Dan Dare Pilot of the Future theme from the original comic until it finished in January 1994 with a Christmas special. Dan Dare was to make other appearances at the end of the Eagle comic in magazines such as Revolver, and those produced by Virgin Comics and Titan Comics. Returning back to 1977 and the launch of 2000 AD featuring Dan Dare, the first story had him revived from suspended animation after 200 years. The full cover spread showed Dan Dare's aging space freighter, the Sirius, being pulled into the red spot of Jupiter. The subsequent 3 pages of the story were in black and white, with Dan Dare being the only survivor to escape the destruction of the Sirius. And convinced he saw something alien on the planet, he demands to go back to Jupiter to investigate, but is relieved of his command. Feeling indebted to his dead crew, Dare stows aboard the Odyssey, which will pass by Jupiter before activating its star drive. The second issue of 2000 AD features another full-colour centre spread with Dan Dare as he battles the crew of the Odyssey who have orders to kill him. The commander of the Odyssey, Mr. Monday, a 5th generation Martian, listens to Dare's story, but does not believe him until a wave of energy from Jupiter hits the Odyssey and something terrible materialises from the planet below. The story of the Biogs is told over the first 11 issues of 2000 AD, with each week featuring a full-colour centre spread in the comic. This was quite prestigious position to have within the comic, as the rest was just printed in black and white, with the exception of the front and back covers. Each week brought another exciting episode accompanied by an amazing colour centre spread picture. In addition, 4 out of the 11 front covers of 2000 AD also featured Dan Dare in glorious colour. At the end of the Biogs storyline in issue 11, the only other character to be brought forward from the Eagle comic was revealed, his old adversary, the Mekon. The next 12 issues of 2000 AD moved the storyline on and pitted Dan Dare against the Mekon, Again, each week Dan Dare would take the colour centre spread, with some issues being printed sideways in the comic to give a dramatic portrait poster style look. However, only issue 12 during this period featured Dan Dare along with the Mekon on the front cover of 2000 AD, a sign that this story was not being featured as much as the previous one. In issue 15, Dan Dare finally meets the Mekon face to face, who does not instantly recognise Dan Dare as he believes him to be dead for over 100 years. However, under interrogation, the backstory of how Dan Dare arrived in the 22nd century is revealed, and the Mekon then seeks his revenge on his old foe. The story gradually unfolds, and in issue 23 Dan Dare finally defeats the Mekon, after which Dan Dare is omitted from the next 4 issues of 2000 AD. Dave Gibbons was the artist who would take over the Dan Dare stories from issue 28 of 2000 AD, with a general theme of deep space exploration in which he gathers together a motley crew and heads off into space in a space fortress in an ongoing storyline called The Lost Worlds. Dan Dare's first encounter in issue 29 is typical of the storyline, with the crew encountering a mystery, in this instance an abandoned ship called the Pioneer. As they stop to investigate the Pioneer, they are ambushed by space aliens who prey on unsuspecting spaceships from their secret asteroid base, and a battle ensues. Upon defeating the aliens and then destroying their base, Dan Dare and his crew complete the first part of their mission, which is to make safe the area of space known as the Lost Worlds. In issue 30 of 2000 AD, Dan Dare and the crew are investigating the disappearance of the spaceship Mayflower. This is the first appearance of the small scout craft called Eagles that are used to go down to the planet's surface while the space fortress remains in orbit. The planet turns out to be a death trap, but they manage to escape on another Eagle. In a 2-part story starting in issue 31, Dan Dare is welcomed by a friendly planet who appear to be peaceful and invite a landing party from the space fortress to visit their planet. On arrival via Eagle scout ship, their culture appears to be similar to ancient Rome. However, all is not as it seems, as the hosts turn out to be vampires, and the landing crew has to fight their way off planet and back to the space fortress. Dan Dare encounters a band of space pirates in issue 33, where the action starts with the freighter Venus being attacked. In order to defeat the pirates, the space fortress is disguised as a freighter, and when the pirates attack, they are defeated by Dan Dare and his crew. With the pirates gone, Dan Dare is given a map of the first friendly planets and their trade routes. Using the map they acquired, they proceed to a jungle planet called Greenworld in issue 34. This 2-part story sees Dan Dare and the landing party using assault ropes to get down to the surface, as there is no place for their Eagle scout ship to land. The plant life turns out to be the dominant species on Greenworld, and they have to fight against carnivorous vegetation to get back to the Eagle rescue ship. 2000 AD issue 36 sees the start of an epic 16-part saga, The Starslayer Empire, which runs for 4 months through to issue 51. By this time, supporting characters to Dan Dare had started to develop, such as Great Bear, known for his immense strength, who was kicked out of the Russian space service for brutality. Hitman, who was on the cruiser Enterprise when it exploded, leaving him in absolute zero temperatures in space before being rescued, leaving him with his gun frozen to his flesh. And Pilot Polanski, top steersman in over 50 exploration missions before being busted after an accident. After encountering a gun satellite guarding the edge of space controlled by the Starslayer Empire in issue 36, Dan Dare and his crew assault the satellite after it destroys a number of Eagle craft in an unprovoked attack. They are then attacked by a number of spaceships from the Starslayer fleet. Sustaining damage in the battle, they make their way to a mining planet to effect repairs. Infiltrating the Menine slave camp, they steal supplies and bare remains to coordinate a revolt. However, in issue 40, Bear is exposed to the Dark Lord's mind control weapon, the Shining Star, which crushes the rebellion and forces him to betray Dan Dare and let the Starslayer troops know where the space fortress is hidden. After a fierce battle, Bear is rescued but in a catatonic state, and the space fortress escapes. Dan Dare and his crew make their way to another enslaved planet and make allies with the insects on the planet Drone. They start another slave revolt, but this too is overcome by the Shining Star, and as Hitman saves Dan Dare, he too falls victim to its power. With Bear and Hitman in a trance, Dan Dare goes on his own to the next slave world, the planet Grawl, a gladiator training site. The revolt on the planet Grawl is successful, but the Shining Star is deployed again and overcomes the crew of the space fortress, and they are brought back to the Dark Lord under escort for execution. Issue 45 had a Dave Gibbons classic drawing of Dan Dare in colour on the front cover of the 2000 AD Christmas Prog, Seeing in the New Year. Sadly, this was also the last issue to have a colour Dan Dare centre spread appear in the pages of 2000 AD, as other stories gained popularity in the comic. Judge Dredd replaced Dan Dare for the prestigious colour centre pages of 2000 AD on issue 46, and was continued to grow in popularity with the readers. Dan Dare was reduced to one colour page on the front cover that was used to start the story each week, which continued in black and white on the subsequent pages of the comic. The Star Slayer Empire storyline concluded in issue 51, with Dan Dare defeating the Dark Lord and establishing the Star Alliance, comprising of the freed slave worlds. The format of the Dan Dare story being in colour on the front page of 2000 AD, with the rest of the story continuing in black and white, carried on through to issue 58, with Judge Dredd continuing to retain the colour centre spread pages with its epic Cursed Earth storyline. Issue 52 saw the return of shorter storylines set in the Lost Worlds, with a 4-part story about the Replicators, which continued in blowing up their planet with a planet bomb. Issues 56 to 60 of 2000 AD were set on a water world, assisting the Zebos colony from the dreaded Slurgs. With Judge Dredd appearing in colour on the front cover of 2000 AD issue 59, in addition to appearing in the colour centre spread pages, Dan Dare was to continue in just black and white for the remainder of the Lost Worlds storyline. Brian Lewis took over the Dan Dare 2000 AD artwork from issues 61 to 63, seeing a new 3-part Dan Dare story called Nightmare Planet, which concluded with setting the scene for continued stories in the Lost Worlds. Dave Gibbons returned as the artist for a 3-part story entitled Ice Planet in issue 64, which concluded in freeing an alien life form that had become stranded and entombed on the ice planet. This was followed by Garden of Eden from issues 67 to 72 of 2000 AD, in which Dan Dare responds to a distress call from an uncharted planet which is under siege from the Vrak. However, as the story unfolds, it is the inhabitants of the planet, the Slethia, who are dangerous, being able to turn into serpents and suck the victims' minds out. The crew of the space fortress defeat the serpents and make an alliance with the Vrak. Unfortunately, it leaves 2 key characters, Pilot Polanski and Gunnar Johansson, incapacitated in intensive care. The storyline continues in issue 73 of 2000 AD, with Gunnar Johansson in a serious condition in the medical centre. Although Pilot makes a recovery, he is killed pointlessly in a meteor shower. This initiates the second to last story in the Lost World storyline, Mutiny, which continues through to issue 78. Partway through the story, Gunnar saves Dan Dare in an Eagle Scout craft. With the help of Hitman and Bear, Dan Dare retakes control of the space fortress, but Gunnar is killed in the ongoing meteor shower. For the final story in the Lost World series, Goring and Leach take over the artwork from Dave Gibbons from issue 79, The Doomsday Machine, in which the space fortress is pulled inside. Amusingly, you can see other captured ships such as the Star Trek Enterprise, Thunderbird 3, Space 1999 Eagle, and the 1950s Dan Dare spaceship, the Anastasia. Issue 81 had the first colour page to be seen on the Dan Dare story in almost 6 months, since issue 59, with him appearing on the front cover of 2000 AD, drawn by long-term Dan Dare artist Dave Gibbons, but with the story, inside, still drawn in black and white by Goring and Leach. Another key character dies in issue 83, ironically Bear fighting a bear, leaving only Hitman to support Dan Dare. Dave Gibbons returns to draw the final episode in the Lost World storyline in issue 85. With the death of Hitman and all the remaining crew of the Space Fortress, the Lost World's storyline ends with Dan Dare adrift in space after destroying the Doomsday Machine. Omitted from the pages of 2000 AD for 3 months, Dan Dare is left drifting in space until issue 100, where he returns to be drawn again by Dave Gibbons in a story called A Plague of Lies, as ironically he is rescued by his arch enemy the Mekon, who is dying, and with Dan Dare's memory wiped, he formulates a plan to use him to save his life. 8 of the 34 pages in the comic are given to this relaunched storyline, even giving Dan Dare the colour back page with a dramatic picture of him on his knees in front of the Mekon. The next issue of 2000 AD has Dan Dare back on the front cover in glorious colour, with the story continuing inside in black and white. Dan Dare is given a makeover in an almost superhero type costume, along with the alias Marshall Viren, a name made up by the Mekon. As the storyline develops, Dan Dare is conflicted in his role alongside the Mekon and the mission to retrieve the mystical Crystal of Life. In issue 104 of 2000 AD, he appears in colour again on the back page of the comic, looking even more like a 1980s superhero. Finally, in issue 107, Dan Dare gets his memory back as the Mekon decides he has no further use of his services. This episode also sees the return of a character from the original Eagle comic, Sundar, rightful leader of the Treens, and who fought alongside Dan Dare almost 300 years ago to overthrow the Mekon. Dan Dare meets Sundar on the planet he escapes to, which is also the home of an amphibian-like race which claim that Dan Dare is their chosen one. Dan Dare takes a break for 2 weeks and returns in issue 109 with a new storyline called Attack on Eternium. He appears in colour again on the front cover of 2000 AD in issue 110, and with the help of his new allies he continues to seek the Crystal of Life. In issue 112 he receives a semi-mystical glove, the Cosmic Claw, that can emit electromagnetic beams. This appears to enhance his journey to becoming a superhero character. Dan Dare appears in colour again on the front cover of 2000 AD issue 115, battling against the Mekon with his newly found Cosmic Claw. Then in issue 116 Dan Dare finally meets the Guardian of the Crystal of Life, and an epic battle ensues, with the battle continuing across into issue 117 and concluding in issue 118, where Dan Dare finally defeats the Guardian. But in all the confusion, the Mekon takes the Crystal of Life and makes good his escape, making him all-powerful and immortal. On his return to Earth in issue 119 of 2000 AD, Dan Dare and Sundar find themselves branded traitors and found guilty of helping the Mekon to steal the Crystal of Life. They are subsequently captured and put on trial in issue 121. He escapes custody in the next issue using a hover pack and the power of the Cosmic Claw. His journey to being a superhero character is now complete. He appears on the front cover of 2000 AD in colour for the last time in issue 123, using the Cosmic Claw to shoot down incoming gunships. Dan Dare makes good his escape with Sundar and hides out in Topsoil, which incidentally is where he recruited the crew for the Space Fortress for the Lost Worlds mission back in issue 28. Trying to clear his name by tracking down those that may have betrayed him, in the final 3 episodes to be published in 2000 AD, he makes an alliance with Morag and departs Topsoil with her and Sundar as a band of outcasts and criminals in search of the Mekon to clear their names. It was stated that Dan Dare would return after a break, but this was the last time Dan Dare was seen in the pages of 2000 AD. Dan Dare appeared in 105 issues of 2000 AD since it was launched, with issue 126 being his last. However, Dan Dare was to feature in a number of standalone stories published in 2000 AD summer specials, sci-fi specials and annuals from 1977 to 1979, along with Dan Dare annuals published in 1979 and 1980 featuring new stories and articles from the world of Dan Dare. The 1978 2000 AD annual included a full colour story featuring Dan Dare, drawn by the original artist Massimo Bellardinelli, called The Curse of the Mitax, which took Dan Dare through a black hole and to a strange planet ruled by a star dweller called Solan. After defeating a deadly Skarag in hand-to-hand combat, Dan Dare challenges Solan, whose only real power is the fear of others. It transpires that Solan is only a child, and his father comes to collect him, and then guides Dan Dare safely back to Earth. The 2000 AD sci-fi special in 1978 included a story drawn by Gary Leach, who worked as one of the artists on the last story, Doomsday Machine, in the Lost Worlds storyline. The 1979 2000 AD annual included a beautifully drawn black and white diagram of the Eagle Scout craft, with detailed descriptions of all the main parts of the ship. There was even an illustrated story in the 2000 AD sci-fi special from 1979 called The Planet of Frozen Fear, which took Dan Dare on a mission to an ice planet to uncover its mysteries and ensure no one else succumbed to the deadly life force on the planet. In 1997, to celebrate the 20th anniversary of 2000 AD, issue 1033 included a replica of the first issue of 2000 AD, which starred Dan Dare. The following issue, 1034, contained a speculative issue called 3000 AD, which contained strips partially based on the first issue of 2000 AD, with one strip entitled The Return of Dan Dare, which also featured the return of the Mekon by artist Kevin Walker. The legacy of Dan Dare lives on in many forms, including a CGI series produced in 2002, which was distributed worldwide and featured the song Dan Dare Pilot of the Future by Elton John in the opening titles. In 2017, a number of audio adventures were produced and distributed by Big Finish, so you can continue to enjoy the adventures of Dan Dare, Pilot of the Future.
Dan Dare, The Voyage to Venus, dramatised for radio by Richard Curti and Bev Doyle.
If you are interested in reading these Dan Dare stories, you can still buy early issues of 2000 AD on the second-hand market, although early editions can be quite expensive. A more cost-effective way of reading these beautiful 1970s Dan Dare stories that first appeared in 2000 AD is to purchase the 2 compendium books published by Rebellion that contain all the 2000 AD stories, along with a number of stories from the summer specials, sci-fi specials and annuals. I still look back in awe and remember reading Dan Dare back in 1977 as he appeared in the first issue of 2000 AD with that amazing full colour centre page spread and grasping your imagination on a voyage to the future. Hope you enjoyed this review of Dan Dare 2000 AD, brought to you by the Retro Attic Mancave.